The Galactic Archives will record that we, the Xantari Collective, made 3 catastrophic mistakes. First, we underestimated humans. Second, we attacked their homeworld. Third, and most damning of all, we survived to witness the consequences. My name is Carax Vorn, former fleet commander of the Xantari 7th Armada, now designated Prisoner Zero of the Human Retribution Force. I am recording this testimony as the sole surviving member of the High Command that ordered the attack on the insignificant blue planet called Earth. Begin your statement, prisoner, says the human guard outside my containment cell. His voice carries no emotion, which I find more terrifying than rage. The humans have evolved beyond simple vengeance. What they practice now is calculated justice. Very well, I reply, my voice translator struggling to mimic their harsh consonants, but you should know that explaining our logic won't make you hate us any less. The human merely blinks. We don't hate you, Commander Vorn. We simply want to understand why a supposedly advanced civilization would attempt to rise against a species they had never even communicated with. Oh, the delicious irony. They think we are monsters, and perhaps we are, but not for the reasons they believe. You must understand our perspective. I begin. The Xantari Collective had unified 317 star systems over 4,000 of your Earth years. We brought peace, technological advancement, and cultural harmony to billions of sentient beings. Our method was systematic, deliberate, and historically successful. The human makes a sound, something between a laugh and a scoff. So you are saying the road to attempted genocide was paved with good intentions? No, it was paved with mathematical certainty. Let me explain how our encounter with humanity began. Not with diplomacy or cultural exchange, but with a simple automated probe that detected your radio signals approximately 70 Earth years ago. Standard protocol for the collective. We monitor, we evaluate, we classify. The probe sent back data that triggered our civilization assessment algorithms. Your species was ranked according to our Galactic Stability Index, a complex calculation measuring technological development rate versus ethical maturity. Thousands of civilizations have been evaluated this way. Most are welcomed into the collective, some require guidance, and a very select few. You judged us without meeting us, interrupts the human guard. His name badge reads Tanner. A simple name for a species that would prove anything but simple. All species are judged, Tanner. Yours simply failed spectacularly. The Stability Index predicted with 99.87% accuracy that humanity would become what we call a destabilizing force. Your technological progression curve was nearly vertical while your ethical development flatlined. In less than 2 centuries, you went from primitive flight to rudimentary space exploration. Yet in that same period, you nearly destroyed yourselves multiple times with nuclear weapons, conducted barbaric wars, and continued archaic social practices. The mathematics were unambiguous. Allow humanity to develop unchecked, and within 300 years you would become a threat to galactic peace unlike any we had encountered. So you tried to wipe us out based on a prediction? Tanner asks. His voice remains steady, but I notice his hand tightening on his weapon. We tried to cauterize a wound before infection could spread. I correct him. The Collective Council voted unanimously. The resolution passed faster than any in our 4,000-year history. Operation Solar Silence. Tanner says. Not a question. Yes, an elegant name for a regrettable necessity. The plan was simple in concept, but breathtaking in scale. We would position quantum disruptors at precise coordinates around your solar system. When activated simultaneously, they would create a cascading wave that would effectively erase all complex molecular structures in the system. Quick, painless, thorough. No survivors to seek vengeance. No messy occupation or prolonged conflict. Just a clean reset of a dangerous anomaly. But something went wrong, didn't it? Tanner says with the slightest curl of his lip. No, Tanner. Something went right. Just not for us. The attack began precisely as planned. Our fleet of 12,000 ships arrived at the predetermined coordinates outside your solar system. We maintained quantum silence, completely undetectable by your primitive instruments. The disruptor devices were deployed, a beautiful network of destruction that would activate on a synchronized signal. I remember standing on the bridge of my command vessel. The inevitable harmony. The name seems laughably ironic now. Disruptors at 100% charge, Commander. My second-in-command Jalnar reported, awaiting your final authorization. The weight of 8 billion lives should have felt heavier on my conscience. But the mathematics were clear. Allow humanity to live, and trillions might suffer in the coming centuries. The equation balanced. The logic was sound. Execute Operation Solar Silence, I commanded. The disruptors activated. The quantum wave began to propagate inward toward your sun, toward Earth, toward all those billions of humans who never knew we existed. And then, nothing happened. Well, not nothing. Something happened. Just not what we expected. The wave has been redirected, Jalnar said, his normally composed voice cracking with confusion. It's coming back toward our fleet. Impossible. The quantum principles were absolute. No known technology could redirect such a wave. Yet the evidence was undeniable as our sensor arrays began to fail. One by one, full retreat, I ordered. Emergency quantum jump to rally point Alpha. But of our 12,000 ships, only 7,419 managed to escape. The rest were caught in the reflected wave, their molecular structures dissolving into their component atoms. Over 2 million of my fellow Xantari gone in an instant. That was your first real encounter with humanity, Tanner says. Not very impressive on your part. It was impossible, I reply, still haunted by the memory. Your species had barely achieved lunar landing capability. The technology to redirect a quantum disruption wave should have been millennia beyond your reach. You'd be surprised what humans can accomplish when motivated, Tanner says with a shrug. Especially when that motivation is survival. The collective council was in disarray after our failed attack. Nothing like this had ever happened in our history. The mathematics had failed us. Our certainty had betrayed us. We need to understand what happened, demanded Council Elder Trezek. How could a primitive species possibly counter such advanced technology? The answer came 3 of your Earth days later, when every communication system across all 317 of our worlds simultaneously broadcast the same message, in perfect Xantari language. From a human. My name is Admiral Leona Jackson of Earth Defense Force, the message began. You attempted to annihilate our entire species without provocation or warning. This message serves as both acknowledgement of your hostile action and notice of our response. You tried to erase Earth, now we will erase your stars, one by one, starting now. Simultaneous with the end of her message, the star Xantari Prime 4, one of our most populous systems with 17 billion inhabitants, went dark, not exploded, not collapsed. It simply vanished, along with all 12 planets in its system. That's when we realized our miscalculation wasn't mathematical. I tell Tanner, it was psychological. We had assessed your technological capacity correctly, but we had completely misjudged your ingenuity, your adaptability, and your capacity for righteous retaliation. The panic spread faster than we could contain it. How had humans detected our attack? How had they developed technology so far beyond our understanding? And most terrifyingly, how many more of our stars would they erase? Emergency Council session, Elder Trezek declared. All military assets on highest alert. But what defense could we mount against an enemy who could make stars disappear? An enemy we had grossly underestimated and viciously attacked without warning. We should attempt communication, suggested Elder Lina, always the voice of moderation. Perhaps negotiate. Negotiate, scoffed Elder Krav. After we tried to exterminate them, would you negotiate with someone who attempted to murder your entire family? We have no choice. Elder Lina insisted. Either we talk or we watch more of our stars disappear. The debate ended abruptly when our long-range sensors detected thousands of small objects entering Xantari space. Objects moving at impossible velocities. Objects heading toward every major world in our collective. They are attacking, Elder Krav shouted. Mobilize all defensive fleets. But our fleets were useless against what came next. The objects weren't weapons in any conventional sense. They were messengers. Each object landed on a Xantari world and projected a holographic human figure. Different humans on different worlds, but all delivering variations of the same message. You have 7 days to evacuate this planet. After that, it will cease to exist. This is not negotiable. This is consequence. Your people must have been terrified. Tanner comments, his first display of something approaching empathy. Terrified doesn't begin to describe it, I reply. Imagine 317 worlds, trillions of beings, suddenly facing extinction. The civilization that had brought stability to this galaxy for millennia, now on the brink of collapse because of one catastrophic decision. The evacuation was chaos incarnate. Billions fighting for limited space on transport vessels. The collective infrastructure, designed for order and efficiency, crumbled under panic and desperation. Prioritize cultural artifacts and knowledge repositories, ordered Elder Lina. If our civilization is to survive, our history must endure. Prioritize the young, countered Elder Krav. If our species is to survive, our future generations must endure. In the midst of this chaos, I made a decision that would ultimately lead me to this cell, facing a human guard named Tanner. We must attempt direct contact, I told the council, not through automated systems or proxies. I will personally lead a delegation to Earth. Impossible, Elder Trazek objected. They would destroy you on sight. Perhaps, I acknowledged. But what alternative do we have? Continue evacuations until we have no worlds left? Watch our stars disappear one by one? After heated debate, the council approved my mission. A single vessel, unarmed and with minimal crew, would attempt to reach Earth with a message of, not peace. Exactly. We were beyond peace. Perhaps a message of acknowledgement, of responsibility accepted. We departed immediately. I tell Tanner. A journey of surrender unlike any in Zantari history. As we approached your solar system, we broadcast continuous messages of our peaceful intent. Still, we expected to be destroyed at any moment. The humans had demonstrated capabilities far beyond our understanding. They could have obliterated our ship with a thought. Instead, we were met by a small escort of Earth vessels that guided us to an orbital station above your planet. Commander Vorn, said the human who greeted us at the docking bay. I am General Liam Frost. Admiral Jackson is waiting to speak with you. The human military efficiency was impressive. No wasted movements, no unnecessary ceremony. They escorted us through the station with practiced precision, their weapons visible but not pointed directly at us. A subtle reminder of our precarious position. Admiral Leona Jackson was nothing like I had imagined. Small in stature by both human and Zantari standards, with dark skin and closely cropped hair streaked with gray. But her presence filled the conference room more completely than any council elder I had ever encountered. Commander Vorn, she said simply, you attempted to exterminate my species. Explain why I shouldn't return the favor. Direct, unambiguous, terrifyingly human. Admiral Jackson, I replied, struggling to maintain composure. The Zantari Collective acknowledges our grievous error in judgment. We acted based on predictive models that clearly failed to accurately assess humanity. You acted based on arrogance, she corrected me. You decided, from a safe distance, that my species didn't deserve to exist. You appointed yourselves gods. How could I argue? She was right. Centuries of successful interventions had bred a certainty in our methods that, in retrospect, was nothing short of hubris. We cannot undo our action, I admitted, but perhaps we can prevent further loss of life. Trillions of innocent Zantari face extinction for a decision made by the Council. Admiral Jackson's expression didn't change. Interesting. You were willing to sacrifice billions of innocent humans based on a prediction. Now you appeal to me to spare trillions of innocent Zantari. Do you see the inconsistency, Commander? I do, I said simply. And I acknowledge it represents a fundamental flaw in our thinking. For the first time, a slight change in her expression, not softening. Exactly. Evaluation. Do you know how we detected your attack, Commander Vorn? She asked. No, Admiral, by all our understanding, it should have been impossible. 23 years ago, one of our scientists, Dr. Prisha Amari, detected quantum anomalies at the edge of our solar system. Anomalies that matched no natural phenomenon. For 2 decades, she was dismissed as pursuing theoretical impossibilities. Until 5 years ago, when her team developed sensors capable of detecting quantum signatures across vast distances. Admiral Jackson leaned forward slightly. We knew you were coming, Commander. We knew someone was studying us, measuring us, judging us. We just didn't know who or why. So Dr. Amari and her team developed defensive countermeasures against a variety of theoretical attacks, including quantum disruption. The implications were staggering. While we had been coldly calculating humanity's threat potential, They had been actively preparing for threats they couldn't even confirm existed. When your attack came, Admiral Jackson continued, we were ready. Not because we expected it, but because we had prepared for every possibility. That's humanity, Commander. We imagine the worst and prepare accordingly. And now, I asked, what have you imagined for the Zantari? Admiral Jackson stood. That depends on what you are offering. Not your surrender. We already have that. Not your apology. It's irrelevant to those who would have died. What can you possibly offer that would justify allowing your civilization to continue? This was the moment all my diplomatic training had prepared me for. The moment to find the perfect words that might save trillions. Knowledge, I said simply. Admiral Jackson raised an eyebrow. Elaborate. The Zantari Collective possesses the accumulated knowledge of thousands of civilizations across 4,000 years, medical technologies that could end all human disease, environmental systems that could restore your planet's damaged ecosystems, educational methods that could advance your understanding of the universe by centuries. All things we could eventually develop ourselves, Admiral Jackson noted.
Yes, I agreed, but at what cost?
How many will suffer and die in the meantime? How many mistakes will you make on the path to these discoveries? The same predictive models that led us to attack you also show that humanity will achieve these advancements, but only after centuries of trial and error. For the first time, I saw genuine interest in the Admiral's eyes. You are offering to accelerate our development, she said. Why would you do that when your entire justification for attacking us was our rapid advancement? Because we were wrong, I admitted. Not about your potential for destruction that remains mathematically valid, but about our right to prevent it, and about the possibility that given the right guidance, humanity might become something other than the threat we predicted. Admiral Jackson studied me for a long moment. I will consult with Earth's leadership. In the meantime, your evacuation efforts may continue without further starvation. But understand this, Commander Vorn. If we detect any military buildup, any attempt to develop weapons against us, we will not hesitate to complete what we have begun. Understood, Admiral. As I turned to leave, she added one more thing. Commander, out of curiosity, what percentage chance did your models give that humanity would respond as we have? That we would not only survive your attack but counter it so effectively? I hesitated before answering truthfully. Admiral Jackson actually smiled. A small, tight expression that held no warmth. Remember that number, Commander. It represents how little you truly understood us. And that's how the negotiations began, Tanner asks, bringing me back to the present, to my cell. Yes. Though negotiations implies equality of position, in reality humanity held all the power. You could have erased us completely, but we didn't, Tanner points out. No, and that is perhaps the most unexpected outcome of all. Our models predicted that if humanity ever gained technological superiority over the collective, complete annihilation would follow. Instead, you showed restraint. The terms humanity imposed were harsh but not genocidal. The Zantari Collective would surrender all military capabilities. We would provide complete access to our technological and cultural repositories. We would accept human oversight of all our remaining worlds. And most painfully, the entire High Command that ordered the attack on Earth would stand trial for crimes against sentience. That is why I sit in this cell. Why I speak to a human guard named Tanner. Why I record this testimony. Do you regret it? Tanner asks suddenly. The attack on Earth? A complicated question. Do I regret the suffering it caused? The lives lost on both sides? The fall of the collective? Absolutely. But the decision itself, based on the information and understanding we had at the time, what I regret, I tell him carefully, is our certainty. We were so convinced of our own righteousness, so confident in our predictions, that we never considered the possibility we might be wrong. And that, Tanner, is a mistake I hope neither of our species makes again. The human makes that sound again, part laugh, part scoff. Don't worry, Commander Vorn. After this, I think both our species will always leave room for doubt. As my testimony concludes for today, I cannot help but reflect on the irony of our situation. The Zantari Collective acted to prevent a future where humanity would dominate the galaxy. In doing so, we guaranteed exactly that outcome. They tried to erase Earth. Now their stars are erased, and the galaxy will never be the same. End recording for today, says Tanner. We will continue tomorrow with the details of the treaty negotiations. As the recording device powers down, I ask the question that has haunted me since my capture. Tanner, does humanity truly believe it can guide the collective toward a better path? Or is this all merely a prelude to our eventual extinction? Tanner pauses at the cell door. That's the difference between us, Commander. You were certain about our extinction. We are still deciding about yours. And in that uncertainty lies both our greatest fear and our only hope. The human returns to my cell exactly 24 hours later. Punctuality, another trait our species shares, though I suspect humans developed theirs for entirely different reasons than the Zentari. Ready to continue, Commander Vorn? Tanner asks, activating the recording device. Do I have a choice? I respond, my voice translator struggling to convey what humans would recognize as sarcasm. Everyone has choices. Your species made yours. Now you are living with the consequences. Touche, as the humans say. The term I have learned during my captivity, along with countless other human idioms and cultural nuances. Know thy enemy, or in our current predicament, know thy reluctant benefactors. Very well, where did we leave off yesterday? The treaty negotiations, Tanner prompts. After Admiral Jackson decided not to erase your entire civilization. Yes, her mercy. Though I suspect pragmatism played a larger role than compassion. The negotiations took place aboard what humans called neutral ground, an orbital platform constructed in the space between Earth and your moon. Symbolism matters to humans. I have learned. This location represented humanity's reach beyond their world while remaining firmly within their home system, a subtle reminder of both their capabilities and their priorities. I led a delegation of 3 Zantari myself, Scientific Elder Mara, and Cultural Overseer Pax. The humans were represented by Admiral Jackson, Dr. Prisha Amari, and a third human named Director Olivia Takeda, who I later learned headed Earth's newly formed Extraterrestrial Relations Bureau. Let's establish some ground rules, Director Takeda began. Her tone was diplomatic but firm. This is not a negotiation between equals. Earth was the victim of an unprovoked attack. The Zantari Collective will accept our terms or face extinction. Is that understood? Perfectly, I replied. What else could I say? The mathematics of our new reality were as clear as those that had led us to attack Earth in the first place. Except this time we were on the losing side of the equation. Good. First term. The Zantari Collective will surrender all military assets to Earth control. Your defense forces will be disbanded and reconstructed under human oversight. Elder Mara gasped. You would leave us defenseless. You won't be defenseless, Admiral Jackson countered. You will be defended by the same species you tried to eradicate. Ironic, isn't it? The terms continued, each more humbling than the last. The collective would open all technological databases to human access. We would accept human observers on every Zantari world. All faster-than-light travel would require human approval, and perhaps most painfully, the entire High Command would stand trial for what humans called crimes against sentience. These terms amount to complete subjugation, Cultural Overseer Pax protested. You are destroying 4,000 years of Zantari independence. Dr. Amari, the scientist who had detected our approach and developed the countermeasures that defeated us, leaned forward. You plan to destroy 200,000 years of human evolution. Consider yourselves fortunate we are only demanding your sovereignty, not your existence. And what guarantee do we have that these terms are final? I asked. What prevents humanity from demanding more concessions in the future, or deciding to erase our stars anyway? Director Takeda smiled thinly. The same guarantee you gave Earth before your attack? Absolutely none. Another hard truth. Another mathematical certainty. The Zantari Collective, which had calculated the fate of countless species, was now at the mercy of the very calculation it had gotten catastrophically wrong. However, Admiral Jackson added, surprising everyone present, we are not you. Humanity values its word. If these terms are accepted and adhered to, Earth will not seek further concessions or punitive actions. More than that, we will actively assist in rebuilding Zantari society, one that coexists with humanity rather than fearing it. I studied her face, searching for deception. Our species had developed different physiological responses to lying, but I had been trained to recognize human indicators. I found none. Why would you help us? I asked. After what we attempted, Because that's the 0.003% you didn't account for, she replied, referencing our earlier conversation about probability. The possibility that when faced with an enemy who tried to destroy us, we might choose integration over annihilation. I will need to consult with the full council, I said, though we all knew this was merely a formality. The collective had no choice but to accept. You have 48 hours, Director Ticketada stated. After that, we resume star erasure. Tell me something, Tanner. I interrupt my own narrative. Did your leaders ever seriously consider complete eradication? Was that truly on the table? Tanner considers this question longer than I expected. I wasn't in those meetings, but from what I understand, yes, there was a faction that argued for exactly that, turning your own weapon against you until no Zentari remained. What stopped them? Dr. Amari, primarily. She argued that erasing an entire sentient species would make us no better than you, that humanity's strength wasn't in our capacity for destruction, but in our ability to forgive even the unforgivable. I absorbed this information with a mixture of relief and shame, a perspective the collective failed to include in its models. Clearly, Tanner says, gesturing for me to continue my testimony, the Council's response to the human terms was predictably divided. Most recognized our hopeless position and advocated immediate acceptance. A minority faction, led by Elder Krav, proposed a final desperate counterattack. We still have enough ships to strike Earth directly, Krav argued during an emergency session. If we cannot preserve our civilization, we can at least ensure humanity falls with us and guarantee our complete extinction. Elder Lina countered. The humans have demonstrated technology we cannot comprehend. They can make stars disappear. What makes you think they couldn't stop such an attack and punish us even more severely? I would rather die fighting than live as slaves. Krav shouted. This is not about pride, I interjected. This is about survival, not just of our bodies but of our culture, our knowledge, our very essence as a species. The humans have offered us a path to continue, albeit under their terms. The alternative is oblivion. The debate raged for hours, but ultimately, mathematics prevailed again. The probability of successful resistance was effectively zero. The Council voted 17-3 to accept the human term. A wise decision, comments Tanner. A necessary one, I correct him. Though not everyone agreed. Indeed, Elder Krav and his supporters refused to accept the Council's vote. They secretly commandeered 47 warships and launched an unauthorized attack on Earth's moon, targeting the human settlements there. The attack lasted precisely 9 minutes. The human defenses activated automatically. 42 of the Zantari ships simply ceased to exist. The remaining 5 were captured intact, their crews frozen in some form of temporal stasis that human scientists had apparently developed as a non-lethal defense system. The rogue attack on Luna, Tanner says, that complicated things, didn't it? It nearly ended everything. I acknowledge Admiral Jackson was displeased. An understatement of galactic proportions. When I was summoned back to the negotiation platform, I found not the measured, controlled admiral I had met previously, but a human barely containing her fury. You assured us the collective had accepted our terms, she began, her voice dangerously quiet. Yet Zentari warships just killed 347 civilians on our moon. Explain. A rogue faction, I said quickly, acting against direct council orders. The collective condemns their actions and accepts full responsibility. Responsibility. Admiral Jackson stood so abruptly her chair fell backward. Responsibility won't bring back the dead. Every human killed was someone's child, someone's parent, someone's beloved. Dr. Amari placed a restraining hand on the Admiral's arm. Leona, this doesn't help. Admiral Jackson took a deep breath, visibly forcing herself back to composure. You are right. I apologize for my outburst, Commander Vorn. There is no need for apology, I said, genuinely surprised by this sudden shift. Your anger is justified. Justified. Yes. Useful. No. She righted her chair and sat again. The treaty terms have changed. The penalty for non-compliance is now more severe, and the oversight more stringent, but our fundamental offer remains. This, too, was unexpected. In the Zentari collective, such a betrayal would have voided any agreement. The offending party would have been summarily punished. You are still willing to proceed with the treaty? I asked cautiously. Yes, said Director Tede, with amendments. The entire High Command will submit to immediate custody, not just stand trial. All Xantari worlds will accept permanent human monitoring stations. And the technology transfer will be immediate and complete, not phased as originally planned. Harsher terms, certainly, but still far short of the extinction we deserved by any rational standard. Why? I couldn't help asking. Why not simply erase us now? We have proven untrustworthy. Because, Dr. Amari said gently, the actions of 47 ships don't negate the potential value of trillions of lives. One rogue faction doesn't define an entire species. A perspective, I noted, that the collective failed to apply to humanity. Precisely, agreed Admiral Jackson, composed once more. And that is exactly why we must not make the same mistake. I returned to the Council with the amended terms. There was no further debate. The treaty was ratified unanimously, even by those who had initially opposed it. Elder Krev and his surviving supporters were surrendered to human custody for trial alongside the High Command. And so began the new era of Xantari existence. Not as the dominant force in our region of the galaxy, but as a cautionary tale, a once mighty civilization humbled by its own arrogance. The transition wasn't easy, I tell Tanner. 4 millennia of independence doesn't yield gracefully to oversight. There were incidents, Tanner acknowledges. Another understatement. The first human observers on Xantari worlds faced hostility, sabotage, and in 3 tragic cases, assassination attempts. Each violation triggered immediate consequences, not the threatened starry Argers, but the shutdown of essential systems controlled through human override protocols. After the 3rd attack, I continue, Admiral Jackson implemented what you called the Guardian Protocol. Any violence against human personnel would result in an immediate 1-year technology lockdown for the entire affected system. No faster-than-light communications, no automated food production, no advanced medical care. Effective, notes Tanner. Brutally so, I agree. But it minimized casualties on both sides. The message was clear: cooperation meant survival, resistance meant suffering. But the story doesn't end with subjugation, as many Xantari initially feared. As months passed, something unexpected began to emerge from the human oversight. Not domination, but integration. Human scientists worked alongside Xantari researchers, combining our methodical approach with their creative intuition. Human cultural experts engaged with our historians, finding surprising parallels between our civilizations, and perhaps most significantly, human ethical philosophers began a dialogue with Xantari spiritual leaders about the fundamental question both our species had failed to answer satisfactorily. When is intervention in another civilization's development justified? The Harmony Protocols, Tanner says, that was the result, wasn't it? Yes. A framework for interspecies relations unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Not based on mathematical prediction or technological superiority, but on mutual recognition of sentient rights. The protocols, drafted jointly by human and Xantari ethicists, established clear boundaries for contact with developing civilizations. No interference without clear evidence of imminent self-destruction. No judgment based solely on predictive models. No unilateral decisions about another species' right to exist. Would the Xantari Collective have attacked Earth if the Harmony Protocols had existed then? Tanner asks. No, I say without hesitation. They would have forbidden it explicitly. Our attack on Earth violated nearly every principle later established in the protocols. Ironic that your attempt to prevent human influence on the galaxy led directly to humanity reshaping galactic ethics. The universe, it seems, has a sense of humor, even if it's somewhat cruel. 3 Earth years after the treaty was signed, something remarkable happened. The first joint human Xantari mission departed to make contact with a newly discovered sentient species, not to judge them or to assess their threat potential, but to offer assistance if desired, and to respect their autonomy if not. The Novorans, Tanner says, I remember the mission. First contact under the Harmony Protocols. Yes, a young species, barely achieving space flight, by collective standards primitive and potentially unstable, by human standards full of potential, by the protocols equal. The mission was led by none other than Dr. Prisha Amari and Elder Mara, once adversaries across a negotiating table, now partners in a new approach to galactic relations. Their successful establishment of peaceful contact with the Navarans became the template for dozens of similar missions that followed. Meanwhile, I continue, the trials of the High Command proceeded on Earth. This is the part of the story most difficult for me to recount. Not because I dispute our guilt. I do not. But because the human approach to justice was so foreign to Zantari understanding. You expected execution, Tanner observes. At minimum. In Zantari justice, attempted genocide would merit nothing less. What we received instead was rehabilitation. The human judicial system found all 27 members of the High Command guilty of crimes against sentience, but rather than execution or lifetime imprisonment, the sentence was service. Each of us was assigned to work directly with the species we had attempted to destroy. Elder Krav was sent to assist in lunar reconstruction efforts. Military strategist Vela joined human peacekeeping forces. Scientific director Zent collaborated with Dr. Amari on defensive technologies that could protect developing worlds without weaponizing them. An I Fleet commander, Karax Vorn, was assigned to the Human Historical Archive, tasked with recording the complete and unaltered account of our attack on Earth and its aftermath. My testimony, including this very recording, would become part of humanity's permanent historical record and a teaching tool for future generations of both species. Is that why you are doing this? Tanner asks, simply fulfilling your sentence. It began that way, I admit, but something changed as I witnessed humanity's response to our aggression, something I couldn't have predicted with any mathematical model. What? You forgave us. Not immediately, not completely, and certainly not without justice. But gradually, purposefully, humanity extended to the Zantari something we had never considered offering to them, the chance to learn from our mistake rather than be defined by it. I wouldn't call it forgiveness exactly, Tanner says, more like pragmatism with principles. Perhaps, but the outcome remains remarkable. 10 years after we attempted to erase your species from existence, humans and Zantari worked together throughout the galaxy. Our combined technologies have cured diseases on hundreds of worlds. Our joint diplomatic initiatives have prevented 3 interplanetary wars, and the Harmony Protocols have been adopted by 17 previously unaligned species. All because we chose not to erase your stars, Tanner muses. No, I correct him, all because you chose to see beyond vengeance to possibility. A 0.03% possibility according to our flawed models, but one that has reshaped the galaxy nonetheless. As my testimony nears its conclusion, I ask the question that has haunted me throughout my service sentence. Tanner, do you believe humanity made the right choice, sparing the collective despite what we attempted? Tanner is quiet for a long moment. I lost my sister on Luna, he finally says. During the rogue attack, she was a terraforming engineer helping build the lunar habitats. This revelation stuns me. All this time I have been guarded by someone with direct, personal reason to hate the Zantari. I had no idea. I am deeply sorry for your loss. For years I was angry, Tanner continues. I volunteered for this assignment specifically because I wanted to look into the eyes of those responsible. I wanted you to know the personal cost of your decision. And now, Tanner sighs, now I see the bigger picture. So my sister believed in building new worlds. What we have created together, humans and Zantari, is something she would have been proud of. A new way of existing in the galaxy, not through dominance or prediction, but through understanding. He stands, straightening his uniform. So yes, Commander Vorn, I believe humanity made the right choice. The hard choice. The choice your models never accounted for. As the recording device powers down, signaling the end of my formal testimony, I find myself reflecting on the fundamental error in the collective's thinking. We had analyzed human technology, human conflicts, human resource consumption, all the quantifiable aspects of your species, but we had failed to account for something no algorithm could capture. Humanity's capacity for growth, for change, for forgiveness in the face of unforgivable acts. One last question, if I may, I say to Tanner as he prepares to leave. The stars that disappeared during the conflict, the Zantari Prime 4 system and others, were they actually destroyed? Tanner pauses at the door, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. No. The technology Dr. Amari developed couldn't actually erase stars. It created a temporal displacement field, essentially moving the entire system a few microseconds out of phase with normal space-time, undetectable, unreachable, but still intact. So our worlds, our people, are all still there? Once the Harmony protocols have been fully implemented across all former collective worlds, the displacement will be reversed. Your lost systems will return to normal space-time. The revelation leaves me speechless. Even in their ultimatum, even in their demonstration of overwhelming power, humanity had avoided taking lives whenever possible. Why wasn't I told this before? Need to know basis, Commander. And now, as your testimony concludes and your sentence is fulfilled, you needed to know. As Tanner leaves, I sit alone in my cell contemplating this final piece of information. Tomorrow, according to the terms of my service sentence, I will be released to join the joint Human-Xantari Diplomatic Corps as an advisor. My perspective on first contact deemed valuable precisely because of my catastrophic mistake. The Galactic Archives will record that the Xantari Collective made 3 catastrophic mistakes in our encounter with humanity. We underestimated them. We attacked their homeworld. And we survived to witness the consequences. But those consequences, against all mathematical probability, have not been our extinction. They have been our evolution, our redemption, our second chance. They tried to erase Earth. Their stars were erased. But in that erasure, both species found a new beginning, and perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy is better for it.